Vassos, over to you.
Our next guest is, let's face it, everyone's favourite actor and soon to become everyone's favourite author. His debut collection of short stories, The American No, is out now. So please welcome a big yes from us whenever it's Rupert Everett.
Roots. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you? As I said before, 7 out of 10, I'd say.
You're 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Now, you're not allowed a 7.
You're not?
No, because a 7's sitting on the fence. You're 6 or an 8. You're not allowed a 7 on the show. Sorry.
Oh, right. Okay, 8 then.
Yeah, good. He's gone for an 8. Yes. It couldn't possibly be a 6. You're Rupert Everett, for heaven's sake.
Exactly.
Congratulations on another great bit of work. Here we go. Short stories by Rupert Everett. The American No. Let's get straight in there. What is the American No? It's what you begin the book off with.
The American No is a phrase that was coined by a friend of mine, and it's about when you go to do an interview with a big group of people in a studio, and you try and pitch your idea.
Yeah.
And always they're incredibly enthusiastic, and they take you out with their arm around your shoulder, and they say, Rupert, this is a perfect fit. We love you here at Bottomy Bay Productions. And you leave the meeting literally walking on air. It's in the bag. And then you never hear another word. And that is called the American No.
How many American No's have you experienced?
Thousands.
Any memorable ones in particular?
There's so many that, you just have to brush them off. No, I can't remember them, because the thing about having a thick skin is you've got to let it just ride over you. Otherwise, you're just weighed down by your own past trash.
Yeah, and you go into, a potential American yes, which ends up being an American no. That's a pretty exciting scenario anyway.
There's quite a bit of sort of yeses, but once you've had a bit of yes, you never get the American no. The American no is always after an initial meeting. It goes very well.
Okay. Give us an example of the environs then that you've experienced these American no's and yeses in.
Well, the thing is, if you're an actor, you have to learn to have ideas of your own. Otherwise, you're just sitting around waiting for the phone to ring.
Yes.
And so I cottoned onto that pretty quick. And so I used to go out pitching all the time. I had tons of ideas.
Whereabouts?
BBC, ITV, Sky, Carnival, Paramount, 20th Century Fox,
Did
everywhere.
you ever drive up to those famous gates of those big studios in the Bay?
In LA.
In the Valley, rather.
Yes, and also because I was such a nervous driver. If you want to go to Universal, for example, you have to get up on one freeway, you have to cross over the whole thing and get off on the other side. So I used to have to rehearse for days to get to a meeting, because otherwise I'd be too nervous by the time I got there.
And do you pull up to the barrier like in the Muppet movie when the Muppets are trying to get in and there's the red and white barrier and there's a security guard?
Yeah, and you say, Rupert Everett, and they go, who? Spell that?
And when were you met with the least friction because you were at the peak of your powers in those particular scenarios?
Oh, I did have a couple of years when they say, morning, Mr. Everett. That kind of stuff.
Tell us about those. Come on.
Oh, those are wonderful. You literally drive on erect.
Yeah. Because wow.
It is. But then, the trouble with that, then you make a print of that in your brain, a little footprint.
Yeah, this is my life.
This is my life. This is what I deserve. This is me.
Yes.
And then cut to 16 months later, and they say, can you spell that for me? And you go, E-V-E-R. But that's life,
Of course it's life. As I said today, we started the show off with, death remains undefeated. It's where we're going, so let's have all the fun we can on the way.
And you're not dead until you're dead. And even then, sometimes in show business, you're not dead. So, you never know.
Yeah, resurrection is alive and kicking.
I know, exactly.
Oh, wow. It's so exciting. You're very good with American Hollywood and Los Angeles. Your take on that, because you were so in the middle of it, weren't you? You lived and breathed it. It was your oxygen. And then you weren't. But your perspective on it is very entertaining.
Well, my experience of it at the top of my game was very short. It was a Hollywood year rather than Hollywood years.
But holiday.
You
put the holiday in Hollywood.
I did see it from every single angle, because I went when I was very young, like a lot of English actors did, and I camped out in more senses than one on somebody's floor, and so you see it from that perspective, trying to get in, and it's like an impregnable fortress in a way.
But once you're in, you're in.
Once you get an in, you get an in. But otherwise, it's like it's got an invisible wall that you can't get through. And once you're out, you're out.
Right.
It's very difficult to get back in.
So interesting, isn't it, Rupert? I mean, as you look back and you reflect, and you're still at the peak of your powers as far as I'm concerned. It was your life. You did live it. There's no doubt about it. You've written some amazing books about it. Your audiobooks are off the chain funny. Maybe the most delicious thing that I'd like to die listening to one of your audiobooks. But does it seem like it was you? I mean, of course it was you. It's like me and TFI Friday or whatever. But it's funny. It's hard to describe to people, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like me. I don't think the past does feel like one in a way, because a lot of the things that you do when you're young, they defy your old age sense of propriety, older age.
Because we're about to get older still, you know that.
No, that's true. But I can't imagine how I did certain things or what was going through my mind when I did them. All I can see is looking at the various different sides to things, but I can't understand how I did a lot of stuff I did.
I know. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you could buy that energy, if you could bottle that energy or whatever it was, the fuel, whatever the fuel was.
But the madness as well.
Yeah,
also the kind of the weird decisions one made that seemed absolutely rational at the time, but look completely insane now.
Yeah. But, you know, to pack it all in, one of my favourite sort of aphorisms is people overestimate what they can do in a week, but they underestimate what they can do in a year, let alone a lifetime. I mean, if you look back at your life, it's exhausting, isn't it, to think about it?
It is.
Great, don't you think? Yeah. I love it, Rupert. Do us a favour, give us a bit of a reading.
Okay.
So this is a bit of the intro to your book, and this is a bit of what we're talking about, isn't it?
This is a bit from my first story. In the old days, I had breakfast every day at Bar Italia, lunched next door at Little Italy, conducted my business meetings, my promotional endeavours and my love affairs on the strip of pavement between the two establishments. Most of my friends lived within walking distance: Alan, Julia, Bailey and John. Occasionally I acted in a play and tottered back and forth to the theatre. I rarely left Soho, perhaps to meet the old Chelsea crowd from before the war, but I always ran back as soon as I could. Once you had lived in that strange corner, nothing else would ever do. On an ordinary evening, I would leave my room at the hotel, ring the bell of Alan's flat, collect him, pass by Princess Julia's, and then go on to Bailey and John's on Charing Cross Road. This was all 30 years ago now, all gone, like tears in the rain. Alan killed himself, Julia moved east, John lives in Italy, only Bailey remains. Apart from him, Soho is another country. Briefly, we Queens achieved supremacy, but we were moved on with the hookers and the homeless at around the time of Paul Raymond's death. I too had some kind of ascendancy. Traffic stopped when I crossed Old Compton Street. Well, not exactly, but you know what I mean. Today, I'm just another old oddity with scowling lips, haunting the streets, walked through, another ghost, as I cross the road at Cambridge Circus. Occasionally, some medium from the old days sees one and screams. Sometimes greetings are exchanged, sometimes not. Often, things are better left behind.
I mean, come on. Come on, gang. How about that? And that's just the first page of the book. You read that off the air before I asked you to read it on the air. Or no, as I asked you to read it on the air, and you said, this is rather good, isn't it? It is rather good.
It is quite good, that bit, yeah.
Come on, I mean, that's flying. There's so much going on there.
Yeah.
And as I read that, I was transported back to that, you know, on your behalf, and also as far as I was concerned. I suppose that's what the best stuff does, isn't it? It reminds us of our own version of that.
And also, you know, Soho for us, for our age group, was such a hub. It's not the same. I mean, nothing in London is quite the same as it was, but Soho particularly was the place of all the dubbing theatres and the porno cinemas and the Maltese and the Italians and the cheese shops and the coffee shops.
Yeah.
It was just all going on there.
And everyone was welcome.
Everyone was welcome. And at the very beginning, there were all the little pink lights in the windows for the working ladies and their madams had walking the kind of poodles with marbleized eyes. It was just a
and the legends were there, weren't they?
And the legends, tons of legends, legendary people
Francis
passing
Bacon,
through.
Jeez.
Yeah, Francis Bacon, the Colony
people.
Room.
I know.
All these places.
It's crazy.
And
it was like living in a film.
It was
like, that's why it was so alluring, wasn't it?
And it had an energy to it, rather than the same way that you feel New York had an energy to it. You came into Soho and something was happening on the streets.
It's incredible. Camden was the same as well, not dissimilar. Parts of Belsize Park and Primrose Hill and all those places. And the thing is, you may have been cast in a film, you may have been working on a film, you may have been directing a film or written a film, but it didn't really matter because we were just all in our own version of that thing.
And then also, as actors, we used to always drop into our agencies where everyone was, hello, darling, come in here. And then everyone was talking. Now, when you go to an agency, all you hear is tick, 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 fingernails on keyboards. There's no words. No one talks.
And hunched shoulders at screens.
Yes.
Face to screens. And we used to stumble from one lunch to another.
Yes, exactly.
If you weren't invited to lunch, you'd stumble upon one and you would be welcome again. And it was non-stop. It was all the fun.
I know. It really was non-stop.
We had so much fun, didn't we?
We did.
I'm still having all the fun. Do you feel like you're having... What kind of flavour is your fun nowadays?
Oh, I'm very, very country bumpkin now. Right. I have dogs. I'm a dog person. I'm up at 6:30 with my dogs.
Good for you.
I like getting to bed quite early. I'm very into reading. I'm interested by kind of new things. I'm really interested in our English language since I write, and I feel it's kind of going away. Yeah. And it's such an amazing language. It's so full of nuance, and unlike all the other languages. And I'm trying to figure out a way that I could be part of keeping it all going. And I think Shakespeare is a great thing. And suddenly for me now, I start reading Shakespeare and I think, God, this is amazing.
Gold.
This is our. I think also, I feel frustrated that we've kind of. I love self-hatred up to a point, but I feel we're just kind of treading on our country non-stop, on its past, on the things that we've achieved, and Shakespeare's just one of them. But everything. I think
therein lies opportunity. If that's what everybody's doing, if somebody stops doing that and does the opposite, there you go.
Absolutely. You see, that's why you're where you are, and that's why I'm not where I am.
But it's funny though, isn't it? Because you've swapped the night. The depths of the night
for the day.
For the morning, not for the day, for the morning.
That's true.
And that's sort of what I've done. So last night, my family are away. They're back this morning. 5 of them, mum and 4 of the kids. We have others. We have grandchildren as well. And we're blessed with such a lovely, wonderful thing around us, generally called life. And with my wife being away for 3 nights with all the children, back in the day, I wouldn't have seen my bed.
No.
Last night, on a free night, I was in bed at 8:10, and I loved it.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful.
Because we're either, you and I, people like us, we're all in, aren't we? So we're all in on staying out all night, or if that's not available anymore, well, we'll swap the night for the morning, and here we go. Well begun is half done. Really well begun is nearly all the way done. Gets to lunchtime. Celebrate. Yeah,
absolutely.
Off we go.
I mean, when you think that before, you used to really only leave the house at 10:30, 11 at night, and not come back till 8, 9, 10 the next morning.
I don't know about you, Rupert, right? But when I was living in Camden and then Belsize Park, you sort of make your way up the hill the bigger your wage packet gets, and then you go and take a sniff of Hampstead and the Heath and things like that. I used to walk to the pub from maybe going home in the afternoon just for something, just so I could use my front door key, because otherwise there's no point in having it. But I don't really know what I went home for. And as dusk fell, I'd be walking down Steeles Road or somewhere like that to the Richard Steeles or one of those amazing pubs. And I would see all these little lights in people's living rooms thinking, why are people staying in? What is the point of... And I just didn't get it. How did you feel about it?
No, I didn't. I did get it at Christmas time, leaving town, and you saw those little Christmas tree lights in people's rooms. But no, I just wanted to be out. Yeah, I
was like, what? Why is everybody not out?
And if I wasn't out, there was a kind of tinnitus ringing in my ears.
Totally.
What am I doing?
Yeah. As you went into Soho, you felt the chaos of Soho made you feel more peaceful, and the sort of harmony and melody of whatever it was outside made you feel anxious. That's how I felt about things.
Yeah, absolutely. Calm made you feel very anxious.
No, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So you have pitched movies, you have made movies, and this book is a result of some of those stories, some that have been made, some that haven't been made, short stories by Rupert Everett. Would you like to give us a sort of a tent post tour of the themes of the different stories?
Well, there's a lot of different stories. I chose 7 of the thousands of ideas I've pitched over the years. The first one was an idea for a film that did get made. I was making a film with Madonna and directed by John Schlesinger, and at the beginning of the film there was a funeral of someone who died from AIDS, and John Schlesinger said, I want you and Madonna to arrive late. And I said, okay, I've got a really great story about arriving late for a funeral, and that's my first story. He didn't like it. Right, I think in your Tennessee Williams world, my dear, that might be okay, but that Sherry Lansing at Paramount won't like it. And so that one bit the dust. Then I did a story. I wanted to make my own Titanic.
Right.
And I'd read about the £10 POMs, what you could do in the UK right up until the 80s is you could just pay 10 quid and you get to Australia on one of those cranky old liners from between the wars and stuff like that. And then I read another story about Greek girls who used to get married on their own with no husband in churches in Greece, because the husband was someone they didn't know who was already living in Australia, and then she'd be taken down to the port and put on the boat. And so I thought, this is a great love story.
So husbandless marriages.
So you'd see these churches with families, one bride and the priest and no man. And that happened all the time in Greece. And then they were taking these poor girls down to the port and put on the boat. And I thought, this is a great idea for a love story. So one of them is about an Anglo-Irish kind of army officer who's gone broke, and he thinks, well, I'm just going to go to Australia. And he gets on at Southampton, and he's in a cabin with all these weird freaks. And then he meets this girl, and they fall in love. And on those boats, the couples were kept apart. So the Italians would always hire out the lifeboats for canoodling in the evenings. So they had this kind of love affair canoodling in a lifeboat, and then he then died halfway through the trip. So that's a kind of tragedy. Then I was at one point approached by two producers to adapt the complete works of Proust. I thought, my God, me? Yes. Moi? So I did that, and then they said, oh, we don't want to make it in the end. So I spent months reading the whole of Proust about 15 times, and then trying to adapt it. And so that script is actually in the book. Then I had a godchild at the London Film School. He said, oh, listen, Rupert, can you write me a story about just starring 3 people in a room? And I thought, oh, yes, because my girlfriend had a son at Marlborough, the public school, and she used to go down, and she divorced from the husband, and she'd go down and sit in this tea room called the Polly Tea Rooms while the son was playing rugby. And she was approached by a guy in this tea room and said, God, you are the sexiest thing I've ever seen. I really want to. I really want to, let's go home. And anyway,
he's much younger than she is.
Much younger.
He's a farmer, maybe a farmer.
Yeah, gorgeous man. And she's kind of, okay. And eventually she decides to go with him, and they get up from the table, and he says, oh, by the way, could you sort me out before we go? And she says, sort you out? And he said, yes, it's 150 quid.
Yeah.
And I thought, my God, this is amazing. I want to find this guy and put him up for an OBE, because that is really a clever idea, to be a sex worker where there's an English public school and all these single mothers recently divorced. You can make a fortune. I never found him.
No, and the twist in the tale is she then goes to the loo, and then you think, okay, she's the smart cookie here. She's more gorgeous than he could ever dream of. But then she comes back and something else happens, and I won't ruin it because it's a great punchline, my friend.
Anyway, he didn't want to make it, my godson. He said, oh no, it's much too weird.
Yeah.
And so then he made a film instead about an old man collapsing on the street and getting into an ambulance. And then he offered me the part. I said, no way.
You say in the book, at least he offered me the part. So and then there's the Oscar Wilde story as well.
And there's the Oscar Wilde story, which I was originally making for a great friend, a director called Roger Michel, who died sadly, and he told me to write down the story as I saw it. So that was really the only one that ever got to a first night.
Yes. So we talked about that, and the film, your Oscar Wilde film, that was 10 years in the making, 20 years in the making. 10 years in the making. You thought you'd got it away with some funding and some producers, and then that all fell out of bed. Because to get a film made, it's so difficult, isn't it?
Well, particularly now, it's really difficult because the independent film world has literally just collapsed completely. So then it was pretty difficult. Now I'm trying to make my second film, and it's still, I mean, it's more or less impossible.
Can you give us a clue as to what might be going on with that?
Well, it's just not. It's a story about my family sent me on an exchange trip to Paris when I was 17, because I was out of control here, and they sent me to stay with a rather grand family who had a big apartment on the edge of the Bois de Boulogne. And on the first afternoon, the madame said to me, "Now, Rupert, we'll go and have a nice walk and then come back for dinner." And I went out walking, and I saw this kind of truck, and it was bouncing up and down. I thought, that's very strange. And then suddenly out of the back of the truck came this little kind of bank manager in a green Loden coat, and he scuttled off into the bushes. And I thought, this is very weird. Then out of the front door came this leg in PVC, a long thigh-length stiletto heels, and this gigantic Amazon woman appeared who looked like a mixture between Cher and Alice Cooper, is the only way I could describe her. And I made friends with this dominatrix, transsexual sex worker, and she had this truck, and it was all decked out inside with glitter balls and all the tricks of the trade, and she became my best friend. And I'm afraid, instead of being made better, which was what my parents were hoping, I just disappeared off the face of the earth, really.
Yeah, well, it is written, isn't it? So you had a dominatrix who had her own dominate truck.
Yeah, Domatruck.
Domatruck, I love it. And as far as all I could think of last night was because all I could think of was like, I'd love, because you've been in Emily in Paris and you'd love to be back in that.
Yeah, I would.
Do you get lots of calls for things still?
No, not particularly.
I see. I find that incredible.
Some. I mean, I'm not completely empty of offers.
No, I know that, but I would think you'd be sort of fending them off. And
the thing is, there's just like there's a million young people, there's now a million old people. We're all elbowing our way towards
older. You got to stop saying older.
We're all elbowing our way to the 2 or 3 roles that are around.
Yeah, but I know that. However, that ain't going to stop me thinking what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Netflix, I'm thinking Disney Plus, I'm thinking Paramount Plus, thinking all those things. And it's you and it's Richard E. Grant, and I don't know what the hell you're doing, right? But I want to watch you two in something. And I was racking my brains last night, but I was in bed at 10 past that. I was thinking, I've got to come up with an idea for you two. I think you two, I don't know if you get on with
Staircase.
it. Something like that.
There's a film called Staircase that Rex Harrison and Richard Burton did about 2 hairdressers sharing a house.
Serialised.
Yes, it could.
Like do you like Richard E. Grant?
I love Richard E. Grant. Yeah.
You and he, for me, are piece from the same pod.
I love everyone in our. I think Hugh is amazing. He's got a great new hit movie out now.
Heretic.
Heretic.
I've not seen it. I've seen the trailer for it.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No. Yeah. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah. No. So shall I just send you some ideas?
Yeah. No. Send me some money and I'll make my other film.
I love it.
No, you should be producing films. Yours is a kind of energy I could use.
Do you know what? I can't because I've got to keep the main thing, and that's this.
Yeah.
I would love to do that, but I have a million children. I get up at 4:21 every morning, and I try and keep fit, and I would love to, but I just can't.
Are you still doing marathons?
Yeah, I'm running New York on Sunday.
God.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Amazing. Not as much as my wife can't wait.
But how are your knees?
Knees are fine.
Really?
Yeah, all that's all rubbish. It depends, how you run. I tell you what, your knees are going to hurt a lot more if you sit on the sofa the rest of your life than if you start running.
Right.
It's don't get me started because you don't want to hear the rest of it. Right. So, what's the most successful pitch you've been to where somebody did bite on one of your stories and it happened, or is that just never the case?
A lot of things nearly got done. I came up with a story about a boy band,
right?
That I wanted to make, and that got quite a long way, and then didn't get made. But I'm absolutely now determined to make this film about my my exchange trip in Paris.
So what do you need then?
£8 million.
£8 million?
Yeah.
Do you have any £1 million at the moment?
None at the moment.
£1 million?
No, not at the moment.
Well, we can give you the beginning of that.
Yeah.
Because a 10 is the beginning, isn't it?
Well, no, I thought I could crowdfund it because to get all you need is 8 million people to give £1, and they would own my film. It would be brilliant.
That would be cool. And how come it? Here's the question: how come it's £8 million?
Well, it has things like it takes place in Paris. Paris is one of the most expensive places to shoot, and they have unions which are quite complex.
No, by the way, I'm not saying why is it so much. I'm just saying how do you get to £8 million? Have you costed it?
Oh yeah, no, it's all costed. Yeah, I've got a very good, wonderful producer, Jeremy Thomas.
Right.
It's all. Good
morning, Jeremy.
Morning, Jeremy.
Morning, Tomo.
And we just got to push on. The point about show business is if you keep going, something happens.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how you keep going. If every day you make some kind of move, it's all in the direction.
By the way, what are the other options to not keep going?
Well, the other options are, just to sit around.
Intransigence.
Yes.
No, thank you very much.
No, I agree.
Rupert Everett. Hiya. Claire says, gorgeous Rupes, you've taken me back to watching you in Room with a View as a young teen. Totally in love with you. And with Chris, I could listen to you forever. I'll get the audiobook.
Oh, good.
I presume there's an audiobook of this book.
There is an audiobook.
How long does it take you to do those things? Do you do it at home? Speak to that a bit.
Oh, well, that would be great if you could do it at home. No, I only do a little bit of my audiobook because I find it really difficult. But I got 2 amazing actors, Alan Corduna and Freddie Fox, we did it all together.
Freddie was in the play that I came to see you at in the West End.
Exactly. He's a wonderful actor, and so is Alan Corduna. And they've done an amazing job, and I do the introductions.
All right. Caroline in Bournemouth, also known as Bournemouth, loved Rupert Everett have loved him since Another Country. Can you ask him, would he consider a role in Rivals if another series is made? He'd be fan.
Yes, I think Rivals is unbelievable. I just watched the first episode 2 nights ago.
Okay, how did you stop at one episode?
Well,
out of interest.
Oh, well, because it was past my bedtime.
I was going to say.
I started at about 9:15, and by about 9:35, my other half had his eyes shut and was snoring lightly.
He had his eyes shut?
Yeah. And I was just agog.
What does it take to keep them open, for heaven's sake? No, don't go there.
RuPaul's Drag Race really is the only thing he likes.
Have you seen The Gentleman?
Yes, I love The Gentleman.
How good is The Gentleman?
I thought it was fantastic. Guy Ritchie, Guy. Good morning, Guy.
I've got to get you in. Yeah. I've got to get you into this
stuff. I thought
The
Gentleman was great.
So did I. I mean, the movie was great, but the
series is much better.
Off the chain.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen White Lotus?
I have seen White Lotus. That's another thing.
You should be in all this stuff.
I know. I should.
Because you're amazing.
Yeah, no, I should. I agree.
Because you can't not be a rebel.
White Lotus was amazing. And then what was not amazing, I thought, did you see Perfect Couple?
No.
Oh, crap.
Okay, fair enough.
But no, White Lotus, whoever came up with that.
Big Little Lies?
Big Little Lies.
All stellar stuff.
Yeah, fantastic.
Do you still have an agent?
Oh, yes, I do.
Do you want a new one? No. I'd love to be your agent. No, I'm not. I'm going to work in cahoots with your agent. We're just not going to tell your agent, because sometimes it's our job to help other people do theirs without them necessarily needing to know.
That's true.
Okay.
That's secret agent.
I'm going to be a secret agent.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Right? Thank you. Yeah,
what a deal.
I love it.
Yes, Rupert. Come on. I love you. I love you.
Good. I love you too.
Everett, The American No. It's out now. He's been out for years, but it's out now. Cool.
That's so great. Thank you very, very much.
You're the best.